this why we need a new political party that's solely focused on farmers?
Politics in Ireland is now no longer one party, it's no longer two parties most of the time. It's obviously dependent on how the people will vote. And I think with the raft of different measures that's being proposed to come into rural Ireland, with the farming and the agricultural sector not knowing, say, there's banding in, there's the nitrates in, there's the emissions in, there's the nature restoration law that's been proposed in Europe that our guys here are saying we wanted hook, line and sinker. There's the land use and the forestry policy that's going to come out. And there are businesses as well in the rural areas that are struggling. And if we don't, like, I can stay as an independent if I want. But the bottom line on it is, you have farmer organisations that in fairness are trying to represent the farming, are trying to cut as good a deal as they can. But when there's one thing and there's one game in town, and that's the programme for government, when a government is being put together. And that's basically the gospel of what will be done over a 5-year period. And while I can highlight things, while it's, you can have certain influence in helping people on certain things, at the end of the day, the big ticket items that is coming down the line and the uncertainty in agriculture, if we don't do something in the rural areas, well, we will end up that the bus will go by us and then we'll be in real trouble. And I am worried. I'm very concerned about some of the things that's being proposed, because where we sit here is bog, but down the road and from Donegal down to Kerry, out to West Cork, out to Offaly even, and parts of Kildare, there is a lot of what I call drained peatland. And as you are well aware, the proposal at the moment is that 70% of drained peatland, agricultural drained peatland, and that's not the bog, that is where the cattle and the sheep are walking this minute, that will be put into change by 2050. And this isn't coming tomorrow or the next day. This is coming down the line.
Do you think this current coalition government isn't working for farmers or the rural community?
Look at it. In the line of the cap, I supported the cap, because the cap, in my opinion, is basically, giving a bit more to the people that were getting lesser payments. But it's not the cap that's going to solve rural Ireland, or it's not. You'll see, and they're welcome. I'm not against this, and it's not town and village, or it's not all the different things. There is a lot of different financial pieces of help to help rural Ireland. But there's no good in talking about cap if a family has to re-wet their land because they're gone. The next generation won't need to be going out, because you don't have to count cattle and sheep if your what I call shored land is re-wetted. There is no need, if there's a land use policy that's blocking you doing X, Y and Z in certain parts of the country, there'll be no need to be getting cap or getting town and village, because the problem is we will have lost the people that live in those areas. But the big ticket items that's on the go at the moment, this climate agenda, the emissions targets, the nature restoration, the land use policy, and bear in mind, and this is the facts, and farmers needs to know this, that at the moment there's 350,000 hectares being proposed in re-wetting. That's roughly 740 or 50,000 acres that we talk about. It's an acre we talk about in the rural areas. There is 500,000 hectares being proposed in forestry, which is 1.25 million acres. So add the two together and you have 2 million acres. Now, the last time I googled it up, there's supposed to be about 10 million acres of ground in Ireland. Well, that's a fifth of every piece of land in this country. That's not going to happen in the Golden Vale or where there is quality land. That's going to happen in certain areas that will decimate, that they'll be taking the hit for everything. And if it's 100% of somebody's farm, they're gone. It's over.
And what's your proposition? Do you believe this is a grassroots party to set up on its own, or would you go into business with existing parties?
In my opinion, it needs to be a complete new type of a party. It needs to be from the bottom up. It needs to be listening. It needs to be business people. Like, people come to me and they tell me, Michael, this is wrong and that's wrong and the other is wrong. And I'd be fairly blunt and I'd say, well, it'll stay wrong if we don't do something. And it's not for me. I play my part. But every person that, be it in business, be it in farming, be it living in rural areas, needs to work together along with politicians, councillors, everyone. And if we don't, and like that's why I'm a realist here, and there isn't many that'll just call it out straight. There is no point walking around the corridors of Leinster House and saying how you to everyone if you're not going to have influence in basically policy making, because now is the crucial time.
Is this inspiration that you're getting from Europe, or are you hearing this from people in your area?
Well, we're hearing day in, day out. All you'll hear is that something needs to be done. When I talk to farmers, they're nearly ashamed to say that they're a farmer. That should never be. We come from one of the best grass-based countries in the world. We produce top quality product. We should be sticking our chest out. Like, there's no point in we talking, if we're good at doing something, will you stay at that? Regardless of all these figures that they're on about. Figures are figures. If someone is good at growing barley somewhere else, well, by Jesus, if they're better than us and it's more efficient, it's efficiency you should go for, because that's how you bring down carbon figures, not everyone having to do X, Y, and Z.
So you're actively talking to other politicians and various parties about getting this new organisation off the ground?
I have talked to politicians. I have talked to people in the farming sector or farming body. I've talked to business people, and there appears to be a good appetite. I have talked to farming bodies, yes. There are individually in people in the farming bodies, and there are people, individuals, that are very interested in what we're doing.
It has been suggested that you're using a Trump-style playbook in relation to this new political party. What do you say to that?
A member of the Green government stated that it's sad, really, in one way, that they have to revert to going, like, to that type of stuff, for the simple reason it's not fake news that the rewetting is and the nature restoration law is coming in. It's not fake news that there's a land use policy. It's not fake news that farmers don't know. You'll have one day there'll be no cull. The next day, Eamon Ryan says, well, we cannot sustain the numbers that we have. It's not fake news that we are trying to basically leave farmers at the moment that they don't know whether they're coming and going in nitrates. Where am I? The Trump-style politics and that is factual. It's not fake. And look, I think that some of the people that said it might pay them better to get elected by the electorate, which I done and many others done. All we want is common sense. Rural Ireland is a very simple place if you leave their people alone. If you work with them,